All right. Hopefully we can finish this off tonight. I don't know how much or how long the Sybil section is. I know there's multiple endings, but I'm not as concerned about getting all endings or anything like that. I just want to, complete a run. Start. Introduction to the beginning of something. Alright, hold on. How do I play Sybil? I want to just double check this. Silent Hill, play, mobile, game, facts. Cheats. Play Sybil, beat the game with any ending as Mary Mason, select the file you beat, and select the top option, continue. Okay, cool. There we go. Just wanted to confirm if it was continue or new game. Hello? Hello? The phone had suddenly gone dead. She tried to call back right away. However, the call would not go through. Perfect. I wonder what is going on. Her coworker Sally saw Sybil's flushed face and could not help making a joke. It's because you are so hostile. I bet they just don't want to talk to you anymore. Hostile? Perhaps after all I do always say what's on my mind. Saying this, Sybil smiled. Peaceful town of Brams. The population is small, and perhaps for this reason there has not been an incident worth calling an incident for several years. As for the officers on the night shift, they generally pass the time by staring at newspaper clippings or chatting with colleagues at other departments. Even now, with nothing notable appearing in the local news, Sybil was just having a meaningless conversation about this and that, with a friend in the Silent Hill Police Department. Then suddenly the line had gone dead. And they had not called back. The call won't go through. Maybe this is happening because someone is trying to tell you not to waste all your time chatting. How about settling down and taking your feet off the desk? Sybil does not care for Sally's big sister-like attitude. Sybil calls the Silent Hill police station one more time. Odd, Sybil thought. It seems as if this might be the result of the telephone lines having been severed or something. Sybil leaps from her chair, causing it to spin, reaches for the helmet on top of the locker, and with it in hand prepares to leave the room. Wait, just where do you think you are going at this hour? Sally has a look of "you have got to be kidding" on her face. And then suddenly, she absent-mindedly allows the coffee cup she was holding in her right hand to fall to the floor. Ah, hot! You can take care of that yourself. Sybil mumbles this in her head, and in the next moment ran out of the room. Sybil straddles the motorcycle in the garage, inserts the key, and revs the engine. The sound of the exhaust resonates in the small space. She pulls out onto the road and increases her speed as she is bathed from head to toe in uncomfortably warm wind. Starlight falls upon her from the clear starlit sky. It doesn't look like the weather could have caused the problem with the phone lines. Sybil tightly holds onto the handlebars and continues to increase her speed. This hour, there should not be any other cars headed to Silent Hill. The road has been lit in front and behind only by the street lamps since she reached this mountain road, and there is no sign of anyone in the area. However, after a while, she was able to see the taillights of a vehicle swaying far off in the darkness in front of her. There is a cliff on one side of the road. Whether they realize that or not, the vehicle is heading toward the same destination as Sybil at high speed. Normally, I would pull this guy over, Sybil mutters. This increases her speed and catches up with the four-wheel drive Jeep in no time. As she passes it, Sybil glances inside the Jeep for a moment, quickly smiles, and then blasts in front of it. The Jeep quickly becomes smaller and smaller in the side mirrors of her motorcycle. Turbo ellipses. And then, she started to notice that she could not keep her eyes focused. Sleepiness. No. I've been on the night shift for a while. Should have got it. Plenty of sleep this afternoon. Her body becomes one with the motorcycle, and it slices through the darkness. Maybe it was foolish to wear short sleeves, although it was rather warm when Sybil left the station. Now her skin feels so cold that it is like the cold is cutting into her. I mean, I might stream it before Ragnarok comes out, Home Skillet, but I don't know. Her eyelids are heavy. Her mouth has become dry. What's wrong with me? She lightly shakes her head left and right against her will. Or right before I play Ragnarok, but I don't know when Ragnarok's coming out and if I'll be busy when Ragnarok comes out. It's a lower priority stream game, kind of like Sifu. Against her will, her right hand turns the grip that will cause her to accelerate. The needle is buried and madly shakes back and forth. Sybil then stared straight forward. But it was already too late. In the middle of the road, a girl stood with her arms raised to shield her from the light. So who knows, maybe one day. Sybil slammed on the brakes. The last thing she saw was the rapidly approaching rock wall on the side of the road. Hitta. Something cold is touching Sybil's cheek. Sybil slowly opened her eyes. Where am I? She is not yet able to stand up. She does not seem to be hurt. However, her body will not do as she commands. Nevertheless, she is fully conscious. Large snowflakes are falling all over her body. She is lying face down in the middle of the wide street. I wonder just how long I have been here like this. After waiting for the nerves throughout her body to return to normal, Sybil lumbered to her feet. Her body was sluggish, like when she wakes up, and she was unable to think straight. Silent Hill. That is what is written on the sign on the sidewalk. In addition to the out-of-season snow, the area is enveloped in thick fog, which generally makes her destination look differently than it normally would. The motorcycle that she came here on was also nowhere to be found. With nothing else to do, she decided to rest in the cafe facing the street. The inside of the cafe is dead silent. She does not see any customers or employees. This destroys her hopes of getting something warm to drink, so she lets out a sigh. First, I must get in contact with the other officers back in Brahms. Sybil picks up the receiver from the phone on the corner of the counter. Not a signal sound can be heard from the speaker. It seems like somehow the heavy snowfall, which could be called abnormal weather, has damaged communication systems. There is no doubt that this is the reason why the call got cut off at the Brahms station. Sybil looks around the inside of the cafe. Ah! She gasps without thinking about it. She can see a man lying down on one of the long bench seats lined up along the window. Customer? No, this place isn't open. She moves near him and looks down at his sleeping face. His face is twisting in agony as if he is having a frightening dream. Sybil hesitates. She waits for the man to wake up. She wakes the man up. Yeah, we'll wait. Sybil was relieved to know that she was not the only person in the town. She sat down at the counter and waited for the man to awaken. After a bit, Sybil thought that the man's breathing had become troubled. As she thought this, he forcefully sat up. Sybil moved over to the man until she was able to look down at him, and then folded her arms. She was relieved. That was how she honestly felt. Looks like you have come around. Who are you? The man asked, this while heavily shaking his head. I'm Sybil Bennett. All communication with this town suddenly went dead. This worried me, so I came here to investigate. It's a very rough neighborhood. I'm Harry Mason. I brought my daughter to this town for some sightseeing, but on the way there was an accident and I lost consciousness. Oh yeah, Sybil, you haven't seen a little girl in this town, have you? A little girl? For a moment, Sybil could not hide her astonishment, but then, because of her profession, she quickly feigned a more resolute attitude. Little girl? No, I haven't seen her. When I came to after the accident, my daughter was nowhere to be seen. The passenger door was open, and she was gone. Cheryl, sorry, my daughter's name is Cheryl. She is a timid child, so it's hard to imagine that she headed out into this weird town alone. Plus, I was there in the driver's seat. And since she gave me no warning, it just doesn't make sense. Are you familiar with this area? There is no sign of anyone, and what is going on with the snow at this time of year? Just what in the world has happened in this town? Harry spoke while sighing. I'm afraid I don't know either. I still haven't seen anyone other than you. It's like the town is as silent as a graveyard. Left without even the means to contact any neighboring towns. I see. So you also had an accident. I thought it was a good idea to head to the police station in this town alone on my motorcycle, but I guess I was going a little too fast. Girl suddenly jumped out into the road. I'm pretty sure it was a girl. Almost hit her. I cut the handlebars hard in order to avoid her. After that, I can barely remember anything. When I came to, I was lying in the street in front of this cafe, so naturally I came in here to get out of the snow, and then I found you sleeping there. I was having some kind of terrible dream. As for if I made it here on my own, I don't remember at all. Just what in the world has happened in this town? What is going on with everything? Well, the situation is definitely strange. We'll head back to the Brahms for reinforcements, and then return here. How about you? Sybil stood and fixed her collar with resolute fortitude. I've got to look for Cheryl. There is no way I can just leave her alone. I see. Well, I'll give you this then. You never know what might happen under these circumstances. If you feel threatened, then pull the trigger without hesitating. She gives Harry a handgun loaded with live ammunition. But you, will you be alright? Harry asks worriedly. I'm not like the average girls around here. I've undergone the proper training. Sybil placed her hand on the exit door, but then she turned and faced Harry again. Harry, don't go shooting me by mistake or anything. I haven't had any training on how to stop bullets. She smiled after saying this, opened the door of the cafe, and headed out into the thick fog. Sybil looks back and sees that the cafe has disappeared into the fog. Having lost her motorcycle, Sybil can only wander about on foot and alone in the eerie town. It's too quiet. There is no sense of anyone at all. I'd like to hail a taxi or something, but there's not a single car running. At some point, Sybil had begun to run. Above all, she must get out of Silent Hill. However, after running for a bit, Sybil's hopes were crushed. All the roads leading out of town were cut off, and it was as if the entire town was floating in the air, and there was no way for anyone to enter the town. Ah, Sybil sighs deeply, and then decides to try going back the way she came. After running for a bit, she comes to another steep valley like before. It is wide and impedes her passage, and then she became sure that it was not possible to escape from this place. Sybil felt like a bird in a cage as she walked apathetically and aimlessly through the falling snow. It was not long before a black, wriggling object appeared in her field of vision. What is that? From off in the fog, the four-legged thing moved at a slow pace as it gradually closed the distance between it and her. And then, as soon as it detected Sybil, it began to ferociously run towards her, scattering the fog as it moved. The monster attacked Sybil, just ran away. Oh, wait, what? It sure just ran away. Monster just moves right past Sybil, then continues away from her. Clearly it is headed somewhere with some purpose. Various concerns run through the back of Sybil's mind. Instinctively, she begins to chase after the monster. However, its speed is fast, and it does not appear possible for Sybil to be able to catch up to it. Additionally, the thick curtain of fog is also making her pursuit difficult. Sybil continues to run for a while, but then ends up completely losing sight of her target. She stops and leans against an antique lamppost and presses on her chest. She waits as the time between her continuous white breaths gradually increases, and then begins walking again. Sybil calms herself down, is overcome with hopelessness. We're going to calm ourselves down. Being unable to escape from Silent Hill, Sybil then worried about what she should do next. Since all the people have vanished, she cannot even talk to anyone about what is happening here. She should look for the police station. Even if the person I was talking on the phone with earlier isn't there, I might be able to get some other information there. She has visited this town many times. Following the thread of her memory, she begins walking along the complicated intersecting streets. Just how long have I been walking? Excuse me. As she saw the word police appear from out of the fog, her entire body was completely exhausted. She opens the glass door at the entrance and heads inside. Natalie, how was your art stream? And hello there, Zandy, and hello there, Quinn. Good, I'm glad to hear it. I, too, am hungry. She opens the glass door at the entrance and heads inside. As she does this, she sees that no one is here, which is just as she had expected. The lack of any sound is painful to her ears. After she walked around the reception area for a bit, she moved toward a room that the door had been left open for. The plate beside the door says, "Meeting Room." And also, real quick, give them both follows, por favor, and also follow Natalie. Hey, GT. Welcome. Hey, thank you for the follow. Yeah, of course. Compared to the same room at the Brahms station, this one is quite small. She looked around the room. You're just in time for Silent Hill as a visual novel on the Game Boy Advance, a Japanese-only game that never came out to the States. But this is a fan translation. It's got some grammatical errors and some spelling errors here and there, but, you know, it's pretty neat. Ah, the phone is off the hook. Someone is here. Ooh, this seems neat. Yeah, let's do this. This seems interesting, like, more of like how the story progresses as opposed to what I'm doing. Someone is here. Sybil senses someone, somewhere in this small room. Underneath the lined tables, behind the folding chairs, Sybil cautiously checked all the places that someone could hide in, but it does not appear that anyone is here. The faded ceiling fan is blowing air down towards Sybil. That might have been what made her so sure someone was here, or perhaps it was just her imagination. She is uneasy. She wants to talk to someone, to anyone. These feelings might be what made Sybil think that someone was here. What was that all about? Sybil left the police station. Sybil is once again in the city streets where the snow is falling. That's right. Sybil recalled her conversation with Harry. And that's another thing, too. Like, we beat the main portion, or cleared the main portion the other night. And now we unlock the events of Silent Hill 1 through Sybil's perspective, which is kind of neat. Yeah, that's basically what the Garmonbozia Wheel is, JT. The Garmonbozia Wheel is a thing that I implemented, similar to RedLetterMedia's Wheel of the Worst. The general idea is people donate points, or for this particular instance, it was because I hit 500 follows. I spin the wheel, and the wheel contains a bunch of allegedly bad, or allegedly weird, or allegedly jank games. 10 of them. And whatever it lands on, I stream. It landed on this, and it landed on a dating sim Natalie gifted me called Sucker for Love, where I guess you're dating like Cthulhu-like monsters. So we're going to be going through that at some point too. It also landed on Rule of Rose, which we'll also be streaming at a later date. Oh yeah, Sybil. You haven't seen a little girl in this town, have you? Little girl? Yes, Cheryl. I wonder if I will be able to rescue her unharmed in this town, which, become a nest of monsters. But Sybil is a police officer. To find and protect Cheryl is her responsibility and her mission. Excuse me. Realizing this, Sybil could not sit still, and in the next moment, she was gone. Yeah, it's going to be neat. There should be an elementary school on the edge of town. Sybil followed her intuition and decided that Cheryl probably headed for the school after wandering around town. Per her training in child psychology, she has learned that if a child loses their parents or guardian, then the chance is high that they will be drawn to places that they are most used to going, places where there are a lot of people. God damn it. However, ahead of her all knowledge, either a bit instinctively or due to a sense similar to that of a memory coming back, she believed somewhere within her heart that Cheryl was probably at the elementary school. Really oddly worded. Sybil may have been drawn here by someone. As she nears the elementary school, part of her shirt becomes soaked with clammy sweat. Is it really okay to go inside? She asks herself this many times. As she reached the edge of the school grounds, her conscientious sense of duty as a police officer rose up within her along with her sense of reason. And she began to walk naturally towards the school. It is now too late for her to turn back. She readies herself. Then, using both hands, she pushes the door in front of her open with all of her strength. The aged building reeked of a peculiar mildew. However, its insides were much cleaner than she had expected, and Sybil found this a bit surprising. Perhaps it was just the result of her enduring the cold wind for so long, but she had a terrible headache. Sybil pressed her fingers to her temples, and eventually began to walk aimlessly again. Sybil opened a door leading to a long hallway. She looked through the glass windows placed in the doors of the classrooms, while slowly walking. There was no sign of Cheryl. The courtyard is to her right. The landscaping is very nice, and has been well cared for. The snow has become sleet. It does not look like it will accumulate. In the back of the courtyard, there is an old-feeling clock tower. However, Sybil is not particularly interested in it. I wonder how Harry is doing. I wonder if the gun I gave him has come in handy. If I cannot meet with Harry after I find Cheryl, then it will be meaningless. We should have made plans to rendezvous somewhere. Sybil thought this, but at this point nothing could be done. At any rate, there was her horrible headache is gradually getting worse, dulling her sense of time and space. A sluggishness similar to sleeping grasps her entire body. Perhaps I am just dreaming all of this, Sybil thought. It is difficult for a person to tell whether they are dreaming or not. Well, in a dream, but for her to accept these conditions is just as difficult. She has no memory of how she got to this town, so it seemed natural for her to think that she has been in a deep sleep since the moment of the motorcycle accident until now. possibly from even before then, from the time of the phone call with the Silent Hill police station, or maybe... While contemplating the many possibilities, Sybil climbed the stairs to the second floor of the school. And then she heard a melody being played on the piano. She heard a scream of a little girl. Oh boy. Yeah, why not? Suddenly, Sybil heard the scream of a little girl from in front of her. What? And a nervous look ran across Sybil's face. Cheryl? A scream. That could mean... However, there was also a feeling of relief deep inside Sybil's heart. The presence of another human, someone else, who could sympathize with her about this isolated world. Sybil begins to run. It doesn't matter to her whose voice that was, and she runs down the long hallway, praying that they are okay. And as she approached a certain room, Sybil noticed something. The figure of a person, something at her feet. Oh no! Something is tangling and twisting around Sybil's feet. It feels slippery and has bound Sybil's feet like a long piece of tape. She falls down and lands hard on her butt. What is this? Throughout her boot, she can feel jelly-like substance moving up her body. It is accompanied by a horrible smell that makes her want to vomit. Kya! She tried as hard as she could to free herself, but the more she struggled, the more it spread, and in no time, the head moved to her upper body. Once it gets in her mouth, it will be all over. Please stop. The voice is a little girl's. Obeying the voice, the jelly stops its movement, and it appears to sink into Sybil's clothing as it dissipates. Sybil raises her head. Music room is written on the door. The door is halfway open, and a little girl appears from inside. Her soft black hair stands against her fair complexion. Cheryl? Are you Cheryl? Sybil regained her composure and approached the little girl. She kneeled and softly placed her hands on the girl's shoulders, and the girl nodded. My name is Sybil. Your daddy is looking for you. If we don't hurry back to him, your daddy is braving danger and running around this town. You also saw that monster just now, didn't you? If we don't get out of here soon, then we will also be in danger. Cheryl shakes her head back and forth to say no. Sybil does not understand what Cheryl means, but continues anyway. I will protect you. Let's go to your daddy. It is my duty to take you to him. Sybil says this and takes Cheryl's hand in hers, and they begin to run down the hallway. By chance, the two of them happen to look out a window. From where they are, the visible courtyard has become completely enveloped in darkness, for it to become night so soon. For a moment, Sybil cannot believe her eyes, but then she was only able to worry about whether she would be able to meet Harry. The two of them walk down the pitch-black hallway. Because of the difference in their strides, their footsteps overlap as they echo. At the moment they approach the entrance to the school grounds, Cheryl spoke directly for the first time. I don't want to leave here. I don't want to see my daddy. If we meet, there will be sadness. You should go back, ma'am. Sybil stopped walking and spoke while just staring at Cheryl. It's your daddy. There's no reason that it would be sad for you to see him. If you stay here, then you might get hurt, or worse. Things would then be truly sad. Saying that, Sybil begins walking again. After a bit, she stops and adds, It's miss, not ma'am. And then the two of them left the school. Just what time is it now? Sybil curses the fact that she forgot her watch at the Bram station. It is probably late at night. She no longer feels the headache or sleepiness from just before. Holding Cheryl's cold hand, Sybil focuses her mind on locating Harry. She figured that Harry was no longer in the cafe, but wonders if maybe he left a memo or something there for her. Compared to Harry, Sybil should know the geography of Silent Hill better because of her profession. However, because of the darkness and thick fog that limit her field of vision, she is in a situation in which it is difficult to know even her current position. She had encountered a strange monster on her way to the school, so now she did not have much confidence in being able to find her way back to the cafe. The sky began to get light while Sybil walked and contemplated the route to the cafe. This made her think that perhaps time is rapidly passing in this town alone. Although the fog was present as ever to decrease visibility, she could now see a lot better now. Or, she could see a lot better now. Then, before she knew it, the cafe was right in front of her. Something isn't right. Sybil feels a sense of discord within her. However, her feet continued on, as if guided by strong power. To the inside of the cafe. Sybil led Cheryl through the entrance of the cafe. The inside of the cafe had been ravaged. The glass windows facing the street were broken, and several tables were knocked on their sides, so Sybil could not move any further in. Oh my god. I wonder if Harry is all right. A red pool of liquid reflects vividly in Sybil's eyes. She prayed that it was not Harry's blood. Harry, it's me. It's Sybil. I found Cheryl. If you were here, then please come out. Excuse me. There's no answer. Sybil had began to step forward, but then gasped with an Just what is this? The corpse of a brown-colored monster that Sybil has never seen before lies in the center of the pool of red liquid. Several shells were scattered about, which meant that Harry probably had a battle here. Since Harry was no longer here, she guessed that he defeated this monster, and then left to search for Cheryl. Is he hurt? Sybil. Yeah, we'll search the area. Thinking that perhaps there was a memo, Sybil began her search with the counter. However, there did not appear to be anything there. Maybe Harry left here in a hurry after being attacked by the monster. Sybil looked at Cheryl. With the bloody scene in front of her, Cheryl was surprisingly calm. From time to time, she looked out the window as if she were concerned about something. Well, your daddy's not here. Let's look somewhere else. Sybil took Cheryl's hand, and without a word, they rushed out into the snowy street once again. Ding dong! Church bell is ringing. The bell rings forcefully, almost as if it had been waiting for them to leave the cafe. There are still other people here? Sybil's eyes glittered. This might be Harry's way of telling me where he is. And even if it is not Harry, if there is someone still here in town, then she would like to meet them and hear what they have to say. Sybil's feet naturally pointed toward the church, expecting to find a clue to escaping and reuniting with Harry. She tightly gripped Cheryl's hand and began to run. Once they arrived at the church, the ringing stopped, and the large door at the entrance began to open from the inside. Sybil then thought that perhaps someone had been watching her movements all this time. She looked up at the top of the church, and then began to look around nervously, until a voice saying, "This way," brought her back to her senses. Dahlia! Sybil faced the eerie woman from a distance. The woman once more called out to Sybil, "This way." Sybil mysteriously moved towards the woman. "Were you the one ringing that bell?" Coo, 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 onomatopoeia for a chuckle. The woman's face suddenly twisted, and she began laughing loudly. She saw Sybil's perplexed expression, but thought nothing of it, and just waved her hand left and right in front of Sybil's face. "I have been waiting for you. You have come just as I expected." Sybil cocked her head to the side. "Do you live here?" The woman nodded, and then looked at Cheryl. "You've done well to come here, you know, don't you? That it was my doing that caused. And you were hesitant to come alone, weren't you? But in the end, I was able to meet you. It is all thanks to that woman." "I don't understand what you were talking about." Sybil's words may or may not have reached her, but that woman began to laugh, loudly again. "Hey, tell me, Why are there no people here? Why are all the exits from town blocked? I do not know either, but shouldn't you be asking that girl instead? Sybil had a look of what on her face. She looked at Cheryl. Cheryl's face was tearful, and then she shook her head back and forth. Sybil looked back at the woman and shouted at her. Stop all this nonsense. We have been pursued by monsters and nearly killed. If I was not protecting this child, then who knows what would have happened to her by now. The path of the wise man. The fool guided to this land through astrology. Everything has been preordained. There is nothing that I can do. You are not holding that child's hand. The child is holding yours. Her anger showing, Sybil went to open her mouth. But at that moment, the woman blocked her. I am Dahlia Gillespie. With that in hand, I wonder where you will end up going. I have nothing for you, and nothing to tell you. You must escape from the demon's grasp as soon as possible. You must find the means to do so for your own sake. There is nothing I can do now. I will pray for your safety. Sybil Bennett. Sybil, shocked to be called by name. She watched Dahlia quickly depart. She was unable to speak. After Dahlia disappeared behind a door, Sybil regained herself. She tightly held Cheryl's hand, and they left the church. It's wacky. Right after they left the church, Cheryl began to speak. Hey, miss, I am fine by myself now. This is not my first time coming here, and I have met that lady we just saw before. Sybil stops in surprise. What do you mean? I have a place that I want to go, but I can only go alone. If you are with me, I won't be able to go, and then something terrible is sure to happen. Something terrible? Why? Your daddy is looking for you. Until I get you back to your daddy, I cannot leave your side. You're wrong. My daddy must not find me. Someone is waiting for me. In order to meet that person, Sybil let out a short sigh. She snaps at and scolds Cheryl. She kindly admonishes Cheryl. Hey, Wayne. Come on, Cheryl. Sybil made an effort to calmly end Cheryl speaking. You must have just had a bad dream or something. But something more frightening is actually occurring in this town. Come on, please, take my hand. Cheryl placed her small hand into Sybil's palm. I will protect you no matter what. So you are safe, okay? Once more, Sybil began to walk down the foggy street, with Cheryl in tow. At first, Cheryl resisted holding Sybil's hand as hard as she could, but once she realized this was futile, she reluctantly followed along behind Sybil, while wiping away her tears. Cheryl muttered something so that it could not be heard. Ellipses. Let's go. Goodbye. What the fuck? Let's go. After walking a bit, the two of them started to notice the murmuring of water had begun to interfere with their conversation. Ah, Cheryl. Stopped walking. Water was splashing up from the strong current in the old aqueduct through the white fog. Due to the bad weather, the water level had risen up to the fortified concrete embankment. So rather than an aqueduct, it was more like an overflowing river that was in a dangerous state. What's that? Girl is drowning? Boy is drowning. Sure. The girl was still alone in the current. She was fighting the strong current and appeared to be holding onto a fragile protrusion with all her might. Miss, look! Cheryl screamed, broke away from Sybil's hand, and then began to run towards the girl. Cheryl, that's dangerous! Sybil instantly chased after her. A stone barrier runs parallel to the aqueduct. It is about shoulder width and about the height of a child. Falling to the right from this barrier could result in injury, and falling to the left would probably result in being swallowed up by the current. Cheryl nimbly ran along the top of the narrow barrier. Wait! That is dangerous! Her words were ineffective. Using... Oh, God damn it. Using her innate physical prowess, Sybil got on top of the barrier. However, she could not run along it as nimbly as Cheryl. By the time Sybil caught up to Cheryl, she was lying prone on top of the barrier and reaching out towards the embankment, trying to grasp the girl's hair. That's dangerous. You will fall in. It's too much for you. We will save this girl. Help me, miss, please. Sybil lightly jumps down onto the embankment side. Excuse me. And is again surprised by the strength of the current. Cheryl is leaning out halfway and looks as if she could fall at any moment and be swallowed by the dark waters. Cheryl, you stay right there and don't move. I'll be sure to save her. Cheryl says nothing and just stares at Sybil. Sybil's footing is quickly being eaten away by the strong current. As long as snow continues to pour into the entire town, the aqueduct will certainly continue to overflow. The water is up to Sybil's knees, and the water pulls at her legs. Sybil reaches her hand out towards the girl. The girl's face is covered in the white splashes, so Sybil cannot see it very well. Everything's all right. Don't worry, Sybil shouts out to give the girl hope. But the girl just appears to be caught on the protrusion, like a rag. And perhaps that is the best way to describe her. Sybil eventually grasps the girl's left arm and is relieved a little. Everything is fine. Trust me, Sybil says kindly. However, the current of the water is faster than she had imagined. Pulling the girl against the current will not be easy. There's nowhere to grab on, so she cannot put any strength into it. The freezing cold is robbing her body of its warmth, and her fingertips are going numb. Miss, it is impossible. You too will be swept away by the current. Cheryl calls out to Sybil from behind. Sybil has a maternal feeling that she must save this girl, even if it means she will end up getting swept away. It will be okay. Just a little more. And at that moment, Sybil unfortunately loses her footing and falls into the current. At the same time, she sees the face of the drowning girl for the first time. Ellipsis, As Sybil is swallowed by the merciless current, she looks up and sees another girl on the barrier. There, the unfamiliar girl looks down at Sybil with no expression on her face. She didn't understand it. She couldn't believe anything. Still holding the arm of the girl, she is swallowed in the dark waters and then loses consciousness. Ellipses. Everything is dark. There's not even a single sound. Sybil cannot tell whether her eyes are open or closed. The hand gripping Sybil's hand suddenly moved. I may have used you, miss. Sybil made a face like, what? And immediately asked, what are you saying? That's why I was against it. You are a good person, so I didn't want to get you wrapped up in this. But in the end, I have made you suffer. I guess that is the same thing as getting you involved? Sybil smiles. I have said it many times, but it is my job to get you back into your father's custody. Getting me involved or whatnot, it is not a problem. You're wrong, miss. Silence flows between the two of them. As for what Daddy will do and so on, those are issues that do not even compare to what I am dealing with. My own personal issue. It's something that I should never, ever tell anyone. Something very important. I've thought about it for so long. I have been confused by it for so long. However, maybe I can tell you about it, miss. The reason why there is no one in town. The reason why I don't want to see my daddy. And also my true. Once again, there is silence. Your true? Your true what? Do you know something? Sybil. Oh. However, that question is not answered. And then the low sound of a motor runs through the floor. It causes a slight quiver in Sybil's stomach. To her front, she has only a glimpse of a single shaft of light. The light thinly extends up and down and eventually expands to the left and right, revealing a small room. It is an elevator. The elevator doors have opened wide, and it sits ready, almost as if it has come for Sybil. Sybil and the girl are lit by its light. And then Sybil felt the grip of the girl that she was holding on to become weak. No, wait. An illusion? No. The two of us are definitely holding hands. Sybil looked toward the girl. Her entire body was paralyzed with a chill. Powerlessly, Sybil sank down in that very spot. Her vision is hazy. The color drains from her entire body. Hey, Heffyard! So this is the same game, Cam, but this is Sybil's chapter, or Sybil's story, so like the entire visual novel is from her perspective. The cop from Silent Hill 1. It was what we unlocked at the end of the last session when we completed the Harry portion. I hope your day goes well too, Jeffy. The girl is not there in the light. The thing that Sybil is holding on to, it is... Oh, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Sybil suppressed a shriek. It was a green jelly-like object. It was a slightly dirty but familiar doll. Yeah, why not? Let's go with the doll. It was a slightly dirty but familiar doll. Thank you. Countless blue fireworks went off in front of Sybil's eyes. Memories of the past, unforgettable memories. Memories that should have been tightly sealed away within her. She was holding the doll tightly. Sybil had hidden in the closet. Through the crack, a familiar scene. Her parents shot in the head and the blood-soaked carpet. The low laugh of a man. She held the doll over her mouth to suppress the urges to scream that assaulted her from time to time. And so, she had somehow survived. She had survived. Why is the doll from that time here? Why? Why is it here? It was the reason she became a policewoman. That incident had largely impacted her future. Cheryl was gone, and all that was left was the unpleasant feeling of memories she thought she had forgotten. I'm losing my mind, she sobbed, alone inside the elevator. The town, along with the lives of several people, had been swallowed up within the devil's dark garb. Inside the small box, she calmed her breathing while shaking her shoulders hard. First of all, I should look for Harry, and then work with him to escape from this wretched world. Quite a bit of time passed since the one lamp had gone out on the floor display. From the vibration, she could tell that she was descending, but even still, this had gone on for too long. Staring at the display of B1, she had pushed her back against the wall and slumped. Is there something in the basement of this building, deep in the ground? And if Sybil was brought here, then what was the reason? I do what I can. The box enhances the reading. Eventually, the elevator begins to gradually slow its descent. And at the same time that it comes to a complete stop, the B1 lamp lights up. And then its doors open. Sybil dully felt this series of movements. With the doors open, the light that illuminates the passage that extends in front of her pours into the elevator. Sybil begins to walk forward. It almost looks like that light is supporting her from behind. It is cold, although she is just walking down a corridor that is like one in a jail. Sybil's heart beats irregularly. Eventually, a single door appears. The passage ends with this door. Perhaps all the mysteries of B1 will be in this room. I didn't want to get you wrapped up in this. The voice of the girl flitted about in the back of Sybil's mind. What was the girl's goal? And where is Harry? Perhaps Harry has come here in the same manner as well, or... He had a feeling that by opening this door, the many questions whirling about in her head would all be put to rest. Sybil summoned forth her courage and placed her hand on the door. Ah! It is hot, and Sybil immediately takes her hand off the knob. Something is burning beyond this door. It is impossible to open this door by hand. Just from touching the door, the palm of Sybil's hand stingingly hurts. She kicks the door with all her might. With a hopeful feeling, she continues to kick the door over and over with the thick sole of her boot. Finally, the knob breaks, and the door forcefully opens inward. At the same time, hot wind singes Sybil's hair. And then Sybil saw it. The room is about as large... Oh, hey, this is the area from the end of the game. Maybe we're almost done. The room is about as large as a movie theater. Fire has spread all throughout, and it has began to collapse. Beyond the debris and flames, a man is holding something to his chest and heading towards another exit in order to get out. And just as he reached the exit, the vigorously burning flames lit the side of his face. It was unmistakably Harry, an unfamiliar man. Yeah, let's go with Harry. Because I think the Sybil scenario is mostly what-ifs, as far as I know. So it's like not just quite canon or whatever. But I know I think the Harry section has a lot of what-ifs as well. And it was unmistakably Harry. Harry! Sybil's voice was a scream. Without backing away, she ran into the room, which had become hell-like. A piece of rubble enveloped in flames fell right in front of her. Kya! Sybil had fallen back on her behind, but instantly stood up, moved around the obstacle, and proceeded further into the room. However, she had lost Harry. Harry! She once again yelled out his name. Someone has collapsed at her feet. A girl dressed in white clothing is lying face down, and her back moves up and down along with her breathing. Sybil stops, kneels down, and plop, her hand on the girl's shoulder. Are you okay? If you stay here, you will be burned to death. Hurry and get up. The girl just remains face down and does not even try to look up. Sybil forcefully lifts the girl's shoulders up and then realizes her face freezes. Oh, I misread that. And then her face freezes. The girl is the one that she was just traveling with. The girl's name suddenly rises up within her memory. Cheryl. Cheryl, why are you here? Sybil carries Cheryl's small body and heads for the exit. Cheryl has suffered serious burns on her entire body. If they don't get out quickly, then not only Cheryl, but Sybil as well will be burned to as... whatever. As black smoke rises from Cheryl's white clothing, the girl is just barely conscious, and her face is pale. Part of her hair is burned, and her is red and swollen. Sybil sheds tears. The sounds of explosions resound from all directions, and the floor shakes and rumbles. Sybil holds the burned girl close to protect her, and in order to save the faint life in front of her, Sybil risks her own life. Sybil devotes herself completely to her current goal. And she considers this to be her duty. Sybil avoids debris as she heads towards the exit. At the same time, she thinks the man she just saw, he seems to have just abandoned this girl. And if that is the case, Sybil finally arrives at the exit and places her foot on the white staircase that extends in front of her, and then she races up it. From behind the loudest explosion yet occurs, a sea of fire is just behind Sybil and is closing in on her. As she climbs the long staircase, Sybil has the goal of reaching the light coming from above the ground, or perhaps she just senses that it is her last hope. So she runs stronger and faster up the staircase. Sybil glances down at Cheryl's face. The end. Well, I did it. I don't know what ending that was, but we did it. Sounds good, Jeffy. Because the goal was just to complete a Sybil scenario, because I know there are multiple Sybil scenarios. I don't know if I would ever replay Silent Hill play novel and stream? Probably not. Even though I know there's a lot of unlockable scenarios and different readings, as is the case in most visual novels. But this is neat. Like it was a neat like little thing. Seeing like it's weird. Kind of hard to judge it since this is a Japanese only release, and like it was a fan translated by one person. I'm running it through an emulator, so there's potentially bugs fucking with the translation as well. All on top of like, you know, potential grammatical and spelling errors. I know, right, Cam?
You did it. Good job. I can't believe it. I'm proud of you.
Hey, thank you. It's kind of like I heard, like, imagine getting, you're excited for the new Resident Evil game, and you wound up getting, like, Resident Evil Survivor, or Gaiden. Where you're like, Mom, I want the new Capcom fighting game, and it's, like, Capcom Fighting Evolution. Alright, let me mute audio for the game. This is just gonna, like, replay the same fucking super bit crushed Silent Hill theme over and over again. But yeah, this is neat. I'm so glad that, I got to finish it and that we knocked out a Garmonbozia game. Oh, I do remember those days, Cam. I don't think I ever brought back a game because it was bad. I remember I rented Two Worlds, for example, right? And I really hated it, like, after, like, the first hour or so. And I just didn't continue playing it. I just basically kept it for however long Hollywood Video. I think Hollywood Video allowed you to rent it for 5 days at the time. And I was just like, I'm just going to keep it here. I'm not even going to touch it. This game is so fucking bad. And by keeping it, that means nobody has to play it for like 5 days. Yeah, there were a lot of rough rentals. Actually, no, I lucked out thinking about it. I didn't have too many rough rentals. Because I was usually there was a lot of instances of me re-renting stuff, or a lot of instances because I primarily my family preferred Hollywood Video to Blockbuster. And there was a lot of instances where I would walk home more or less empty-handed because all the cool shit was already rented out and was just gone. So it's more of just a sad, lonely, no rental weekend. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know if Hollywood Video did that or if Blockbuster did it. I remember I rented Covert Ops Nuclear Dawn, and I remember hating it, but I don't remember much about it other than the fact that I hated it. I miss physical rental stores, though. There's something neat about going to, like, Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or a mom and pop rental shop and picking out, like, a movie or a game to rent for a few days as compared to, like, now. I especially miss the game renting aspect of it because there's, like, so few demos now. So it's like you really just have to check out somebody's stream on Twitch or YouTube, or, you know, Let's Play on YouTube, or just bite the bullet and drop like the $60 or just wait, you know? Yeah, it was a really fun experience. I miss it considerably. Alright, so that's gonna do it for this stream and also Silent Hill Play Novel. Like I said, I don't think I'll ever replay it. But it was neat. It was a cool little experience. Tomorrow, we're going to do Sucker for Love, the Lovecraftian horror dating sim, since it's Valentine's Day, and that's Garmonbozia Wheel too. And then if I squeeze in a stream on Tuesday, that's going to be Darkness 2. But I have a 5-day weekend coming up this Thursday through next Monday. I'm going to try to squeeze in multiple streams to clear out a lot of the backlog and get further in. Yeah, of course, Cam. It'll be good. It'll be good. Sucker for Love, maybe Darkness 2 on Tuesday. And then ideally Knockout Dead Aim and Gaiden, Startup Countdown Vampires, hopefully blitz through Sucker for Love, hopefully clear out some of the Extra Life games. And yeah. And more Resident Evil 2 speedrunning. So I'm going to send you all over to Lou Killy. He's doing some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with viewers. So if you have a Switch, you want to play Mario Kart with her, you can. Thank you all for stopping by. Natalie, thank you for the raid. Cam, thank you for sticking it out and popping in and out. JT the Wise, thank you for the follow. Body Stalking Forever, thank you for the follow and also the 10 biddies. Banana Boat, also thank you for the raid. Yeah, I'll catch you all on the next stream. Take care now. Bye, 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 bye.